Okay. Again, I'm Jamie Court. I'm president of Consumer Watchdog, and I'm here with Carmen Balber, who is the executive director of Consumer Watchdog, and we're here not just on behalf of Consumer Watchdog or Food and Water Watch, but the many, many groups who have signed a petition, 60 groups, environmental, social justice, public interest. Today we are petitioning the Commissioner of Insurance in California, Ricardo Lara. Today's petition is all about one big question. Insurance companies today hide their underwriting of fossil fuel projects like Aliso Canyon, the All-American Pipeline, Plains All-American Pipeline that broke and spilled oil all over Santa Barbara and Ventura County. We are asking the insurance commissioner today to use his power to force insurance companies to tell the public which fossil fuel projects they insure. We know there's about $500 billion, more than $500 billion, that California insurance companies invest in fossil fuel projects. We do not know how much California insurance companies insure fossil fuel projects for. We have a petition today to ask the Insurance Commissioner of California, Ricardo Lara, to tell the public which insurance companies are insuring which fossil fuel projects. I think many of us would have a problem if we knew our insurance company was insuring the Keystone XL pipeline, or Aliso Canyon, or the Plains All-American Pipeline in Santa Barbara. We have power as consumers. We have power as environmental activists. We have power as community activists to say no to insurance companies if we know they are insuring fossil fuel projects. The public has a right to know, and today we do not know which insurance companies are insuring which projects. But hopefully within 30 days, the insurance commissioner will answer our petition and tell the public that insurance companies will let us know which fossil fuel projects they insure. You can see the 60 groups who have signed this petition, 350.org all across California, Azul, community groups, Center for Biological Diversity, Greenpeace, Sierra Club, Food and Water Watch, just a tremendous array of groups, the Philippine American Coalition for Environmental Solidarity. Communities affected by oil, communities with fewer oil wells, we all stand united in asking the insurance commissioner to use his power today to guarantee that the public knows which insurance companies insure which fossil fuel projects. The tragedies we are facing across California with wildfires have exacerbated our need to know which insurance companies insure which projects, because we are looking at $11 billion in losses to insurance company from wildfires. There is no question that global warming changes the conditions by which wildfires spread and start. When you have the kind of climate change conditions fossil fuel projects are driving and fossil fuel usage are driving, we see tinder, we see drier trees, we see drier conditions where wildfires are more severe and spread more quickly. When we see, even back east, hurricanes growing because of the climate conditions in the waters and in the air, we know that's related to climate change. So insurance companies are paying out tens of billions in losses from catastrophes that were started because of the fossil fuel projects that they insure and they invest in. That's wrong. So this petition both stands on firm legal authority, but it also stands on moral authority. Insurance companies should not invest in the catastrophes, and they should not underwrite the catastrophes that their policyholders have to deal with and their shareholders have to deal with by paying out the claims. Insurance companies shouldn't be on both sides of this issue. They should be on the side of the public and the policyholders. And I don't think insurance companies can really be on both sides of these issues, except that they don't today have to tell the public where their projects are, the projects they're insuring are. Carmen's going to walk through this petition and why the insurance commissioner is within his authority to demand this information and why he needs to answer this petition in 30 days. And then we'll hear from Jane and Ana Rosa about what the human toll is of the status quo. Carmen?
Thank you, Jamie. My name's Carmen Balber. I'm the Executive Director of Consumer Watchdog. And I want to speak to why this is well within the Insurance Commissioner's authority to require these disclosures. California is the largest insurance market in the nation. We have over 1,300 insurers in California. And as Jamie mentioned, from just the Camp and Woolsey fires alone, those insurers are on the hook for $11.5 billion of damages. This is a huge issue financially in California. And climate change, to the insurance industry's own admission, is creating incredible threats to the solvency and future viability of the insurance industry. Yet the insurance industry continues underwriting the very projects that are creating that threat to their solvency. So one of the key reasons that we have insurance regulators, one of their main objectives, is to ensure the financial security of insurance companies so that they are able to cover their policyholders when they file claims. So insurance companies need to be able to pay when a devastating wildfire wipes out their home. If insurance companies are simultaneously investing in reckless fossil fuel projects and putting their financial solvency at risk, the insurance commissioner has a need to know to ensure their solvency and a right to know under California's insurance and consumer protection laws. Our petition asks the Insurance Commissioner of California to use the insurance and consumer protection laws of California to mandate those disclosures and address those climate change risks. And I just want to highlight the reason those risks are so broad and why the Commissioner has this authority. The insurers are obviously facing the damage to people's homes, to physical assets, to properties that climate change is causing. They have the financial risks from their investments, and more the industry is coming to acknowledge that that the fossil fuel industry leaves them at risk of having stranded assets. It's called transition risk, where insurance companies may be left on the hook for investments that are worth nothing because the fossil fuel industry is on the downturn. We have litigation risks. More and more companies are being sued for contributing to, for facilitating climate change. And insurance companies who are insuring those fossil fuel companies will end up having to pay out for that litigation risk too. And then of course, why we have Ana Rosa and Jane here to speak to, then of course there is simply an inherent risk in insuring dangerous fossil fuel projects. And every time an insurance company gets in bed with one of these fossil fuel companies, they're at risk of paying out for a wide catastrophe. That's the kind of risk that consumers have the right to know about, the kind of risk that the insurance commissioner has to know about. I just want to point out two examples and then turn it over to our other speakers. The first is, let me just state flat out, we know next to nothing about which fossil fuel companies insurance companies are investing in because they're not required to disclose it, and they keep that information tightly held. So for example, the Aliso Canyon gas leak caused by Sempra and its subsidiary, Southern California Gas Company, will ultimately cost their insurance companies over $1 billion. That's what the company reports to the SEC. But we have no idea what insurance company is on the hook for paying out those claims. I'm sure the folks who live in Porter Ranch would like to know. And then similarly, in Refugio Beach, that oil pipeline owned by Plains All American Pipeline Company, they report that their insurance companies will ultimately pay $240 million for the widespread damage of spilling 130,000 gallons of crude oil along the coast of California. Yet we have no idea, the residents of Santa Barbara have no idea what insurance companies are on the hook for that. Consumers have a right to know, and again, to ensure the solvency of these insurance companies, the insurance commissioner must know as well. So let me leave it at that and turn it over to our next speaker, Jane Fowler, who's a resident of the Porter Ranch area impacted by Aliso Canyon.
Before you do that, could you just spell your name for
Yes.
us on camera?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Carmen Balber, CarmenBalber, Executive Director of Consumer Watchdog.
We're going to just take 1 second while the other camera sets up, if he's got a
Good
mic. And I want to make sure we have the right slide up here as well. We'll go back to Aliso.
And Jane, when you get up, just say and spell your name for us too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here you go, Jane. Let's take one break for 1 minute here, just to allow. Do you have a mic you need to set or no?
Just a plug-in?
Okay, no.
No.
No, you don't?
Yeah, okay. Okay, so you're just going to take it ambient. Okay. So give us 1 second, but Jane, why don't you, while you're doing that, you can just say what your say and spell your first name and where you live.
Sure. My name is Jane Fowler, and that's JaneFowler, and I live in Granada Hills, which is right next to Porter Ranch.
Thank you. Just give us 1 minute for folks on the line, and we'll be going. All right. All right, Jane, you want to
Sure.
shoot?
Should I say my name again or just start?
I think it's just fine to start.
Okay, so I am a resident of Granada Hills, and pretty much my life blew up when Aliso Canyon blew up. I was relocated for 7 months, and that was horrible. But when I returned home, I don't know, it felt kind of weird, it smelt kind of weird, but you know, I don't know what to do. So I'm cleaning my house, and I happen to have white tiles in my bathroom. And as I'm cleaning the tiles, I realize, oh my goodness, I can see black, like black soot, sort of oily. I don't know what it was, but I noticed it was black, and then I realized, oh my goodness, that's probably on all my walls. So that kind of freaked me out. And I also noticed that when I would lie on my couch, you know, to watch TV or hang out or whatever, I would kind of pass out. And then I would wake up and I would have that same achy, headachy, horrible feeling I did during the blowout. And so I called my attorney, and he said, pretty much throw out your couch, your love seat, your chairs. In fact, he said, you know, really get rid of everything because it's covered with toxins. And, you know, I can't get rid of everything and pay for it and pay for the cleaning of what's on the wall. So I called my insurance company, and I asked them, you know, can you help me out? And they said, no, you need to talk to SoCal Gas. So it's kind of upsetting when you're paying your premiums and what you require is, you know, it's not $100,000, it's thousands of dollars, yes, but I'm paying my premium. Don't need my kitchen to be rebuilt, but they wouldn't take care of me, and I find it offensive that gas companies, refineries, whatever, are taking care of, and me, just an individual consumer, is left with no insurance, pretty much. Also, some people were dropped, some people's rates went up, and I'm glad you're shining a light on this situation, and I hope we can fix it.
Jane, if you knew what insurers were insuring Aliso Canyon, if it was your insurer, would you be willing to stop insuring them? I think most people in Aliso Canyon would stop.
Definitely.
You wanna?
Definitely, we would stop, pull our insurance from whoever was insuring Aliso Canyon. Definitely.
So you'd like to know?
Yes, I'd love to know. I'd love to know.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Ana Rosa, I'm going to let you spell your last name.
Last name is Rizzo Centino, Rizzo-Centino.
First name, spell that out.
Ana, A-N-A.
Okay.
Hi everyone. So I'm senior organizer for Santa Barbara County with Food and Water Watch. And those of you who know about Santa Barbara know it's a beautiful place. Some people would even call it paradise. However, there's 3 different companies, ERA, ERG, and PetroRock, that are trying to build 768 new oil wells. And they want to triple oil production, as well as rebuild the Plains All-American Pipeline, which, as you can see,
Let me just do that for you. Sorry about that. Let me just make sure we're going the right way. We got the wrong one.
which, as you can see from the slides, there was actually a huge oil spill in 2015. And it was terrible. I mean, animals were covered in oil, and that's what people know about because that's what people saw. But actually, what a lot of people don't know is that people got terribly sick from this spill too. Not just the typical asthma attacks, but also pneumonia. People and their animals, their pets, were all getting sick. And so, so far, these insurance companies have been able to act as silent partners with these projects, but they need to come out of the shadows so we can see the destruction and devastation that they are responsible for. This is not a time for us to sit down. We have only 11 years to act on climate change, and if these insurance companies are helping to create this devastation and destruction, we need to know who they are. So we need disclosure now. Thank you.
Thanks, Ana Rosa. I'm going to open up to questions on the line, and if anyone in the room has it. I would say that the insurance commissioner's powers, again, exist in his ability to make sure these insurance companies are solvent. We had an insurance company go bankrupt because of the wildfires. We don't want insurance companies going bankrupt because they're spending $1 billion literally paying claims in Aliso. They're spending hundreds of millions in Refugio. He needs to know, but there is this also really important reality that insurance companies in Europe have stopped investing in coal and extreme fossil fuel projects, and they've stopped underwriting extreme coal and fossil fuel projects, and that is a tremendous pressure point to stop climate change. This is maybe bigger than governments, I mean, when we talk about $500 billion in investments that insurance companies in California have in fossil fuels, if they pulled those investments, that's a big deal. If they stopped underwriting Keystone, Plains All-American, Aliso Canyon, those projects won't exist. They're trying to rebuild the Plains All-American pipeline now. They're trying to bring it back. If the insurance companies stopped insuring it, if we knew which insurance companies they were so we could pressure them to stop insuring it, we wouldn't have a pipeline being rebuilt. They can't reopen Aliso without insurance, but we don't know what the insurance companies are. So there is a twofold purpose here. One is to make sure these insurance companies are solvent, and the second is to make sure that climate change is reversed. And we can only do that with the cooperation of these insurance companies, and policyholders have a lot of muscle they can flex. So if there's someone on the line who wants to speak or someone in the room who has a question, you can ask it. Let's try the conference call line. If there are people on it, you may talk over each other. I think I unmuted the line, so you can ask a question. Anybody on the line who has a question? See if I unmuted it.
All participants' lines are now muted.
All right, sorry, unmuted.
The participant lines are unmuted.
Okay. Any questions in the room? Anybody have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Full disclosure, I live right next to Aliso Canyon myself. I'm curious, has there been a precedent for the approach that you guys are taking in terms of, going after the insurance companies to pull away from, something like this?
Well, there's 2 sides to that. The answer is yes, twice. The precedent for the insurance industry moving away from fossil fuels is across the Atlantic Ocean in Europe, where many insurance companies have announced their intention to drop the climate change risks and get out of the fossil fuel industry, both their investments and their underwriting of extreme fossil fuel projects. So there's precedent there. There's also precedent in California for this type of disclosure. Over the last several years, the prior insurance commissioner required disclosure of the investments in fossil fuel companies in California insurers with over $100 million in premiums. which covered about half of the insurance industry in California. And that has provided a lot of data to know what kind of risk insurance companies are putting themselves in, potentially investing in stranded assets. That's the precedent and similar authority that the insurance commissioner has to require disclosure of underwriting as well.
And I would say that a word about our insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara. Ricardo Lara, who just was elected insurance commissioner, is the only insurance commissioner in California ever to appoint an environmental czar, a deputy commissioner dedicated just to the environment. So this is 30 days that the commissioner has to demonstrate his resolve against these insurance companies and pressuring them to at first tell us their investments, their underwriting and insuring of these fossil fuel projects. And then hopefully, once we know, to use the power of that office and the power of the public to stop them from insuring the projects. He's got 4 years in office. We get this information out in year 1. By year 4, maybe we can stop these projects through public pressure and through the power of that office, because I think many of these insurance bets are very unsafe for the companies and unfair to the policyholders, and they wouldn't be made if we knew which companies were behind them. So this is a big litmus test and challenge to an insurance commissioner who has dedicated himself to stopping climate change, and we believe he's up to it, and he will hopefully take this the next yard. Any questions on the line? In the office? Going once, going twice? Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. Thanks. And if you want more information, consumerwatchdog.org. We have a press release up and some links, as well as to insureourfuture.net. Is that right? .us. Insureourfuture.net. .us, sorry. Insureourfuture.us is the larger campaign we're all part of, and these are folks who have won in Europe. So we're bringing the victories in Europe to America. And there are a couple of insurance companies who actually have made a commitment, like some smaller insurance companies like Lemonade, to stopping these investments. And we're hoping some bigger insurance companies are going to come on board soon voluntarily. Thank you all.